Hey guys, it's Kingdom Orange 2 here, and welcome back to my channel. So continuing on with my series of comparing animated fairy tale characters, I thought today it would be fun to do the Swan Queen. Now just like my previous entries, I will first start with comparing every Odette and then end my video with my rankings. Also, as always, if you feel like I've missed any Swan Queens, feel free to comment them down below. So without further ado, let's fly right into it. So the first movie we're going to be looking at today is Barbie of Swan Lake. Barbie of Swan Lake is a 2003 direct-to-DVD movie starring Barbie as Odette, the daughter of the town's baker. One day, Odette follows a unicorn named Lila into the enchanted forest. Lila becomes trapped in a bush, and Odette uses a crystal lodged into a rock to free her. The fairy queen appears, telling Odette that by freeing the magic crystal, she is destined to defeat the sorcerer Rothbart. She explains that many years ago, her cousin Rothbart became angry that she was chosen to become the next ruler of the forest. Years later, Rothbart returned with his daughter Odile and began taking over, turning the fairies and elves into animals. Not wanting to get involved, Odette begins to leave but is confronted by Rothbart, who turns her into a swan. The fairy queen then gives Odette a tiara with the crystal which protects her from Rothbart's magic. However, the tiara only partially reverses Rothbart's spell, allowing Odette to regain human form at night, but turning back into a swan during the day. Looking for answers on how to break the curse, Odette and Lila head to Erasmus the Troll in order to find the Book of Forest Lore, but are unsuccessful. Prince Daniel, who is out hunting, is lured into the forest by Rothbart, who tries to get him to hunt and kill Odette. However, once Daniel lays eyes on her swan form, he is unable to do so, and Odette transforms in front of his eyes. She then protects Daniel from being attacked, and the two of them spend the night together, where Daniel invites Odette to the ball the following evening. Erasmus later locates the Book of Forest Lore and reveals to Odette that the key to defeating Rothbart is true love. However, he warns Odette that if Daniel is to fall for another woman, the magical crystal will lose its power and she will die. Unfortunately though, Rothbart swoops in and kidnaps Erasmus. When he finds out about Odette's plan to meet the prince, he disguises his daughter Odile to resemble Odette and heads to the ball. Odette flies to the castle in her swan form to warn Daniel, but is too late. Daniel has already pledged his love to Odile, causing Odette to collapse. With her tiara now out of power, Odette's crystal is then stolen by Rothbart. Eventually though, she wakes up and finds Daniel confronting Rothbart over his deception. Odette runs to protect Daniel, but they are both blasted by one of Rothbart's spells. Fortunately though, their true love causes the crystal to backfire on Rothbart, undoing all of his magical spells. And the movie ends with Odette and Daniel getting married while Odile and Rothbart are stuck at Erasmus's library. Barbie in the Pink Shoes. So Barbie actually plays Odette a second time in the movie Barbie in the Pink Shoes. In the film, Barbie stars as a ballet dancer named Kristen, who receives a pair of magical shoes from her costume designer. These shoes transport Kristen along with her friend Haley to the ballet world, where Kristen fills in as the star of two important stories. Kristen first becomes Giselle, but after her and Haley remember that the story has a tragic ending, they decide to leave and end up in Swan Lake, where Kristen now assumes the role of Odette. She dances with Prince Siegfried, who invites her to attend a ball the following evening, but Rothbart arrives and transforms Kristen and Haley into swans. Wanting his daughter Odile to marry the prince, Rothbart disguises her as Odette and takes her to the ball the next night. Luckily though, Haley and Kristen are able to make it to the party and transform back into their human selves. Kristen dances with Prince Siegfried along with Odile, but the prince realizes who the real Odette is and breaks the spell. Now the movie has this main plot with the Snow Queen that I won't even bother getting into because in all honesty, I don't really like this film. I found Haley to be one of the most annoying Barbie characters in Barbie movie history, and I kind of hate the fact that everyone is like self-aware of their stories, if that makes sense. Also, I found the animation to be an eyesore and the dialogue to be unnecessarily cringy at times. Ever After High. So while the Swan Queen doesn't appear in the Ever After High franchise, the quote-unquote role of the Swan Queen is given to her daughter, Duchess Swan. Duchess is a royal, but is unhappy with her fate, as she doesn't want to spend the rest of her life trapped in her swan form. With this in mind, she often punishes those who don't appreciate their happily ever after, such as Ashley and Ella. Now, since she's often hostile and rude to others, she doesn't really have that many friends at Ever After High, with her only two friends being Courtly Jester and Faybelle Thorne, who, unsurprisingly, don't have many friends either. Duchess also has this unique ability to not only dance on water, but can transform to a black swan whenever she pleases. Regal Academy. The The Odette in Regal Academy is technically the granddaughter of the Swan Queen, but for some reason the writers got lazy and made them share the exact same name. Anyways, Odette is mostly a background character, only ever having one episode that centers around her and Astoria's friendship. In the Swan in Swan Lake, Odette uses her special swan dance to help Astoria and her teammates figure out which one of the frogs is actually Joy stuck in her frog transformation, and Astoria apologizes to her for not maintaining their friendship over the last couple of years. Swan Lake. Swan Lake is a 1981 anime produced by Toei Animation in Japan to celebrate the studio's 25th anniversary. The movie opens with Prince Siegfried and his friends riding out in the woods when he spots a beautiful swan with a crown on her head. Unable to take his eyes off of it, he follows the swan down the lake where he finds himself inside of a castle. The swan transforms into a woman named Odette who tells Siegfried that 3 years ago she was kidnapped by an evil sorcerer named Rothbart who wanted her hand in marriage. He also placed a curse on Odette, which causes her to transform into a swan during the day, and says that the only way the curse can be broken is if a man loves her with all of his heart and soul. Siegfried explains to Odette that he loved her the moment he laid eyes on her and invites her to a ball the following evening, hoping that she will become his bride. When Rothbart hears about this interaction from his daughter Odile, he traps Odette in her castle on the night of the ball and disguises Odile as Odette to trick the prince into declaring his love for her. Odette is able to escape but catches the prince too late, and upon hearing the prince's proclamation, faints in Rothbart's arms. Realizing his mistake, Siegfried battles Rothbart but gets pushed into a corner. Wanting to save Siegfried's life, Odette finally agrees to marry Rothbart, but Siegfried, unable to bear this thought, plunges his sword into his own heart. This, however, causes all of Rothbart's magic to come undone, and the movie ends with swans flying around Odette and Siegfried as they celebrate their freedom. Now, to be completely honest with all of you, I didn't feel like this adaptation of Swan Lake really added anything interesting to the overall story. I also didn't really like the fact that they had these two squirrels serve as the movie's narrators. But honestly, I'll give this film credit for being basically the first animated version of this ballet. Okay, so the last franchise we'll be taking a look at today is Swan Princess. Swan Princess is a 1994 film released by New Line Cinema. The movie begins with King William banishing the sorcerer Rothbart after learning about his plans to try and take over the kingdom. King William and Queen Uberta want to unite their countries by marrying their children when they come of age. So each summer, William takes his daughter Odette to spend time with Uberta's son Derek, but unfortunately, the two never seem to get along. Once they reach adulthood, though, Derek and Odette begin to develop feelings for each other. However, when Odette asks Derek what he loves about her besides her beauty, he can't seem to think of an answer, and she decides to head home with her father. On their way, the carriage is ambushed by Rothbart in his monster form, and he then fatally injures King William and kidnaps Odette. Dying in his arms, William tells Derek that Odette was taken by a great animal, and Derek becomes determined to find her. Rothbart plans to marry Odette and holds her captive at Swan Lake by casting a magical spell that turns Odette into a swan during the day. Fortunately, though, she can temporarily return to her human form at night if she stands on the lake when the moonlight touches it. A while later, Derek is hunting in the woods when he sees a swan flying above him. Believing it to be the great animal William was talking about, he attempts to shoot it many times, but stops when he witnesses the swan turn to Odette on the lake. Odette tells Derek that in order to break the spell, he must make a vow of everlasting love to the entire world. Derek then invites Odette to the ball that will be held the following night. He leaves, and Odette tells Rothbart that she has finally agreed to marry him. Unfortunately, though, Rothbart overheard Odette's plans and reminds her that she won't be able to attend the ball tomorrow because there will be no moon. Rothbart then transforms his sidekick Bridget into Odette and accompanies her to the ball, knowing that this will kill the real princess. At the party, Odette tries to fly to the castle to warn Derek, but is too late, as Derek has already made his vow to the wrong woman. After the prince realizes his mistake, he follows Odette back to Swan Lake where she dies in his arms. Derek, though, fortunately kills Rothbart, breaking the spell and bringing Odette back to life, and the movie ends with the two of them getting married. Now, for those who didn't know, the Swan Princess actually has 11 sequels to it and makes up this greater franchise of direct-to-DVD movies. I've only watched 2 of them, and I refuse to watch the 3D sequels, but I've read that the most recent movie, Far Longer Than Forever, is supposed to be the last film they make. So yeah, I guess New Line Cinema has finally realized they can't milk this story any longer. So now it's time for the rankings. Number 6 is Barbie in the Pink Shoes. If you couldn't already tell earlier, I don't like this film. I didn't necessarily hate Kristen Faraday, but I thought the whole I create my own ballet moves part of her personality was pretty lame. I also think that her Odette design is super boring, especially compared to Barbie's earlier design in Barbie of Swan Lake. Originally, I wasn't even going to include this film on the list, but I felt like you guys would have wanted to see a comparison between the two movies, so I put it here anyways. Number 5 is Regal Academy. One issue I've always had with this show is that they spend so much time focusing on Rose and her team that we don't really get to find out more about the side characters, which is really lame. I find this Odette to be very charming, and I think her swan transformation could have been utilized more in some of the side quests, but unfortunately, I guess we'll never really know. Also, to be fair, her design overall is just pretty lackluster. Number 4 is Swan Lake. I placed the Odette from this movie on the middle of the list because everything about her is kind of average. Her design is okay, her personality is okay, but there's nothing really interesting or memorable about her character. I also really didn't like her voice actress. She made Odette sound like a depressed 40-year-old mother of 3. Number 3 is Swan Princess. So I feel like many people are gonna come for me in the comments, but I'm just not crazy about Odette from Swan Princess. Maybe it's the fact that I never watched this movie as a child, so I don't really have like an emotional connection to it, or maybe it's because I feel like she looks way too similar to Princess Aurora. I don't know, her personality is just very run-of-the-mill princess to me, and so is her dress. Also, like, why couldn't they incorporate at least a bit of ballet dancing into the movies? Just saying. Number 2 is Ever After High. I really love the angle that the writers of Mattel were going for with their version of the Swan Queen. Usually villains at Ever After High are turned good, but Duchess is a protagonist who becomes the bad guy. The only issue I have though is that she's not really threatening and comes across a bit pathetic and sort of delusional throughout the series. At times you almost feel bad for her because it's like she doesn't notice how annoying she can be. Regardless, I still absolutely love her design, and the fact that she can transform into a black swan is really clever. Number 1 is Barbie of Swan Lake. I feel like this movie is the only entry on this list which perfectly balances the aspects of both the ballet and the story into one. But regardless of how much I love this film, this version of Odette is really the only one I like. Not only is she kind, brave, and smart, but she has also one of the most stunning fairy tale dresses I've ever seen. I mean, just look how perfectly the designers incorporated the use of swan feathers into this gown. Anyways, if Tchaikovsky was alive today, I think he would also agree this movie deserves 5 out of 5 stars. If you liked this video today and want to see more content in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Thank you guys so much for watching today, and I will see you soon. Bye!